My name is Hannah Collins, and I'm a junior broker with the firm. This will be my 10th year, actually, just celebrated my 10th year of being in business here. And so I'm super excited to share with you guys today a little bit about one of the up and coming popular concepts that we show real estate investors how to utilize their dollar twice, which is pretty cool. And so that's what today's going to be focused on, even though obviously we do a lot more than just this. This is really cool. So make sure you guys can see my screen here. And so we call it real estate and self-lending. These are advanced strategies on how you can place your profits. And so kind of let's talk about the problems first, right? That we run into when we're investing in real estate. Well, number one, you basically have three different options of how you can fund, right? Number one is financing. What's the problem with that? High interest rates on loans. You have to have a great credit score, paperwork. It takes time, right? And sometimes, hey, deals happen quick and the market's hot and we need to get this going, but we've got to wait on paperwork, right? Option two is just having idle cash. Well, what's the problem with that? We're not earning interest, it's depreciating. And if it's in a variable account, in order to get those higher returns on our money, we're at risk of losing it, right? And nobody wants to lose money. Option three is a hard money loan. Well, what's the problem with that? It's a high interest rate. We're pledging actual real property as collateral against any default, which is not good to put those other investments at risk, or our home maybe we live in. So what about profits? So we've got steady stream, like our rentals, our Airbnb. What's the problem with that? Placement of the profits could be at risk of depreciation, market loss, repetitive taxation, right? Nobody wants to pay an unfair share in taxes. So those are things like the bank, money markets, and stocks. Lump sum, right? Like if we're flipping or just a regular home sale. Problem with that, heavy taxation, right? And repetitive taxation. So it must be reinvested or it's going to be at risk to depreciation or that market loss via placement. So one of the basic concepts or rule of money that everybody should know is the rule of 72. So this just calculates how quickly our money will double for us or against us. Albert Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world, but you take any interest rate, divide it into the number 72, tells you how many years it's going to take for that money to double for or against you. And everybody knows at the bank, we don't earn any interest, right? 0 to 1%. But even if it was a whole percent, that would be pretty good, right? But 1%, 1 into 72, our money wouldn't double for 72 years. And I don't know about you, but I certainly don't have that kind of time to wait around. And so obviously we want to get those higher rates of return on our money, because if you jump over to say 12%, now 12 into 72, it's doubling every 6 years. So that same amount of money in this example, it's just a 29-year-old with $10,000. By the time they're 71, they have over 1.2 million, as opposed to being 101 and having 20,000. I don't know, which one would you rather have? Yeah, silly question, Hannah, I know. So the second rule is how our money grows. There's only three ways. You've got fixed, like the bank, 0 to 1%, no growth. We've got safety, we have liquidity. Number two is variable, right? We all know what that is. Our stocks, our mutual funds, it's up and down with the market, right? People getting into crypto these days, but it's gambling. The third category is indexed, like protected asset funds, to where, hey, you've got safety like the bank, you have liquid access to where you don't have to wait till you're 59 and a half. You get those high rates of return in the market. So if the market's doing 10, 12, 15%, that's what we get credited. But guess what? On those down years, like 2008, we don't lose anything. So when everybody else is losing 40, 30, 20%, we're just saying coasting it out at 0. And then when the market corrects and comes back, we're going to continue to rise with that. And so the last one is how money gets taxed, right? We can all make money, we can all save money, but how much do we get to keep versus Uncle Sam? And so, we want to pay a fair share of taxes, but not an unfair share, right? And so there's 3 ways that money gets taxed. Tax now with the bank, mutual funds continually being taxed every year on any growth, right? Tax later, we're just deferring those, and ask yourself, hey, with the way things are going right now, do we think that taxes are going up or down in the future? And if you think they're going up, then do you really want to grow your money and just let Uncle Sam decide how much of that you get to keep that you worked 30, 40 years for? Think about it. There's a third category called tax advantaged, where we're doing the opposite. We're going to go ahead and pay our taxes now, get it over with on the seed versus that large harvest, and pay it now while they're at historical lows. And then any growth, any distribution, tax-free. Love that, right? And so there's a time and a place for everything. So Roth IRAs, they have caps, right? A lot of people, when we think of tax advantages, we think of the Roth IRA. And so that's a variable tax advantage account. Well, what's the problem with that? You can only put in $6,500 a year, and there's income limitations as well. And so is that really going to grow? $6,500 a year, especially when we're talking about real estate and things like that, where we need some growth and we need a place to put larger amounts of money. Well, cash accumulation in an insurance policy, you can actually have the same tax advantages, but you create your cap. So you want to put in 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, $1 million a year. We'll customize that for you. And so it's pretty cool. And the solution, when we're talking about this, using these types of accounts, it's just utilizing another tax code, just like 401k is a tax code, right? This is just a tax code called 7702A, and that allows you to grow any money inside of an insurance policy, grow it tax-free, take it out tax-free. So there's no financing, there's no idle cash, there's no hard money loans, all those things that were issued before, gone. So now we can go out and we can make tax-free purchases, self-paid loans. You have the option to pay it back or not, because you're essentially becoming your own bank. And hey, you're the banker, so you want to pay it back this month, that's up to you. You ask yourself, right? No credit check. Just checking the account, how much we got in there. Okay, let's receive our funds within 2 to 7 business days. It's pretty quick. And so basically just a quick overview of how it works. And this particular product that we're utilizing and leveraging is called an Indexed Universal Life, IUL for short. It's protected from taxation on growth and distribution, like I just said, from the IRS, using those IRC codes 72E, 7702A. You can take something called a wash loan or an alternative loan, where you can actually keep the amount that we took out in the policy and will still grow with the market. So you can actually be netting money and making money while you're out using it. And I'm going to show you an example here in a minute of that. But continue to fund this index with income from our real estate profits, from those rental incomes. We can eventually actually use this as a private pension and only utilize the interest as a tax-free income so we don't outlive that nest egg. And not only that, but passing it on to our heirs tax-free. And so there's something called perks when we're looking at this. And so that is having that protection. There's 7 benefits over here to the side: family, health, business, home, against market loss, against the IRS, against inflation, against creditors, predators. How do you think O.J. Simpson still had, over $2 million when he got out of jail? Emergency fund. There's no age rule, right? We can use this before 59 and a half. It is a tax-free retirement plan, college fund. This is what we use for our kids' savings accounts. There's flexibility, no rules on how we can use that. And then just a savings account. Instead of going over to the bank, getting less than 1% or 4% in a CD, these have averaged 10.22% over the last 40 years. So we can grow that money a lot quicker here. Obviously, a lot of great benefits. So loan options, let's talk about that. Number one, I mentioned there's a wash loan. So you're just taking the cash out of the index interest and tax-free via a loan. Government cannot tax a loan. And so it's a wash loan, right? Like they're going to charge you 3% and credit you 3%, right? Now, the other type of loan, and something that's intriguing to investors, right? Like I was talking about, where you can utilize the dollar twice, is an alternative loan to where you're not actually removing the cash from the index, and it's still allowing it to grow at those historical average rates of usually 8 to 12%. And so we take our money out at a loan of 5%. The insurance company is going to charge us 5%. But if that year, let's say that index performed at a 10%, well, we get to capture that positive 5% growth. And we're now getting credited 5%, and we still pay the 5%. And we're coming out ahead, but hey, we're using that money that we borrowed out to buy another rental property investment, right? It's pretty powerful. So leverage. So like I said, we can actually choose to repay that loan, or we can leave it outstanding and it can be paid off later, and usually upon passing. So if we've got a death benefit of $500,000, we have $100,000 outstanding loan. When we pass away, then that just gets subtracted from that death benefit. So then our family gets $400,000 income tax free instead of $500,000. Oh darn! I don't think they'll be too mad about that. So steady stream of income, right? And where to place those things, what's the solution for those profits? Well, we can actually feed that money back into the index account, and it's not going to be subject to recurring taxes or losses, right? Like I said, those high rates of return historically. So we're just refunding it, right, for another self-loan purchase in the future. Lump sum we have to pay the taxes, but we pay it once, and then we can put that back in and pay off that previous loan, or fund, the index account again for future tax-free interest purchases for additional properties. So it's a beautiful place to be able to put those things. Now, here's an example. I'm sorry if it's a little bit blurry, but if you're interested in something like this, we can get with you and just sit down on a one-on-one and kind of go through some more specifics and something that would be realistic for you. But in this example, it's basically someone putting in $2,000 a month of their rental income and funding an account like this. So by year 5, we've got $134,000. We're going to take out a wash loan versus an alternative loan. So you're going to see here $34,000 for the wash loan, $134,000 for the alternative. And again, this is kind of letting you see this in numbers, how that works with the alternative loan. Let's say that we were charged 5%, but that index did perform 10%. Then now we've got a 5% profit on our own loan, which is pretty cool. And down here at age 52, you'll see we have $962,000 in that cash value. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so like I said, eventually it can be used for a private pension, so you'll never have to worry about outliving. So if we just go conservative, again, these do closer to 10 to 12%. But if we just go conservative and only live off of 8% interest, that would be a tax-free income in this plan at age 63. We've got a cash value of $2.7 million, 8% a year, $216,000 per year, income tax-free, in addition to obviously other income streams. Plus, we can add on something called long-term care benefit. And in case you were to need some sort of in-home health care, assisted living, anything like that, then this particular concept has a benefit of $25,000 per month. And all of this is totally customizable. So then there's more, right? Just keeps going. We can pass down that net death benefit, which means anything left in the cash accumulation plus the death benefit minus any loans will pass on income tax free to our family, our beneficiaries, whoever we choose. Okay, that was a lot of information, but something important when considering an account like this is to be working with non-captive brokers, because we can have a non-biased opinion. We have access to over 70 different companies to choose from, and they're all A-rated or better. The best of the best out there, strong, stable companies like Pacific Life, Prudential, Nationwide is on our side. Everybody's heard of that one, Transamerica. And so all of these companies provide products like this. So it's just a matter of sitting down and figuring out what your goals are, what your needs are. And our job as a non-captive broker is figure out for you which company is going to be the absolute best for you. So if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to the person who invited you to watch this. And thank you so much for your time today. And I hope to talk soon and get you started on your own infinite bank.